Welcome back to Klaus's Kitchen. We're getting ready for our next lab now. We will be doing tacos. So there are a couple things we need to keep in mind. First, make sure your tools are all clean, including your hands. So wash them well before you get started. The first thing we're going to learn how to do is how to zero out a scale so we can weigh our meat, and then we'll get into how to brown it. So come join me at the scale. Okay, we are ready to start by weighing our meat, and we need exactly 1 pound of meat. So the first thing we do is we turn on our scale, and it's going to say 0 to begin with. But our bowl actually weighs something. So when we put it on the scale, we're going to see that it actually takes it up to 13 ounces. All right? So what we're going to have to do is zero the scale. We'll need to push the button, and it will take it back to 0 so that it's ready for us to measure. So it's already zeroed out that weight of the bowl. So we need about 1 pound of ground beef. So we're going to start by taking some ground beef, and we're going to put it in the scale until we get to 16 ounces, because 16 ounces is 1 pound. We're getting close. You just keep an eye on those numbers. And keep adding some meat until we get there. And we're just a little over. We can just take off a pinch and get it right to 16. Now, since I've handled the meat with my hands, the next thing I need to do is wash my hands. Okay, here we are back in the kitchen, and my hands are clean. I touched the raw meat. I've got them washed. Now, what I need to do is to light my stove so that I can begin to cook the ground beef. So what I'm going to do is actually push down, turn the knob to light, and then you heard that clicking sound? That was actually a spark that will ignite the gas stove. So now that the gas is on, I'm going to put my pan on. And to help with the meat, I've gotten a rubber scraper. And this is one that can be used with heat. So make sure that you have one that's not going to melt into your food, that is heat resistant. I'm going to take my ground beef and put it right into my pan. And I'm just going to start to break it up slowly. Okay, we've got our meat cooking now, and I'm just breaking it up with the rubber scraper that I have. And it's pretty flexible, so it doesn't do as great at breaking it up as maybe something that's a little firmer. I have a couple other options that I could use. I could use a metal turner, but the problem with the metal turner is I'm cooking in a Teflon pan, so it's just going to scratch it up and get Teflon in my food, so I don't want to use the metal turner. If I had a plastic one, that would be perfectly acceptable. I could also use a wooden spoon, or in this case, it's just a wooden turner kind of itself, and chop it up. But I also happen to love gadgets, if that's one thing you haven't figured out about me yet. And I have this gadget from Pampered Chef that looks like a star, and to me it's kind of fun to break up the meat. What you want to do is go ahead and get your meat all broken up as it browns, and we want there to be no pink left in the meat. So I will continue to kind of just break this up over and over again until there's no pink left and it's all brown. And then I will show you the next step. Okay, we're back with our meat, and our meat now is no longer pink, it's all brown. So it is ready for us to go to our next step. Now if you notice, there's lots of grease in this. So what we need to do is to get rid of some of this grease so we make it more heart healthy. So see me at the sink, and I'll show you the next step. Alright, here we are at the sink, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a bowl to catch our grease. And one of the reasons we want to do this is because the grease can clog the sink. And I'm using a metal strainer, that's the one that has the screen like on it. And what I'm doing is I am going to strain the meat. And if I move my sink spigot over, it'll make this a little easier, that I can get my meat in here. Now what I'm going to do is just set my pan off to the side, and I'm going to run some hot water. Not into my grease. I'm going to leave this go here and let it continue to drain. But to get even more fat off of the meat, I'm going to run it under hot water. And the hot water will rinse away even more of the fat, making this even healthier for us. So we get the protein without all the fat in it. If you really want to get rid of the fat, you can even dump it out onto a paper towel, and the paper towel will absorb the water and more of the fat so that you make this even more heart healthy for you. Okay, now that my water has run through it, I'm going to drain it a little bit. Again, I prefer the strainer over the colander because the strainer doesn't allow the meat to fall through. I'm going to dump it back into my pan, and I'm going to go to the stove for our next step. Okay, here we are with our meat that's been rinsed off, and we're ready to go ahead and get started again. I need to turn the flame back on, so I'm going to turn it to light. We hear the spark, it's lit, and I'm going to turn it down to a medium high. Now I'm going to be following the directions on my taco kit. So you're going to have to read specifically how much water they want you to add. In this particular case, at our house, we love tacos, but we don't buy the taco kits that have the seasoning in the packet. We buy our seasonings in bulk because we like tacos so much. And we have a spicy taco seasoning and we have a regular taco seasoning. And we actually use just a little bit of both to give our tacos some flavor. So we just pour a little bit in. You'll be opening up that foil packet you have and dumping in your seasoning. It will look like our plain seasoning that we just added now. What I'm going to do now then is take a rubber scraper and begin to mix this together. And it will mix with the water that we added, and we want to bring it to a boil. So as soon as I get this all mixed in, we're going to let it sit and come to a boil. Now, here at home, just to make it go a little faster, I'm going to put a lid on it. And the lid will trap the heat inside and make it come to a boil even faster. Once it's come to a boil, the sauce will thicken. Once it looks to be about the right consistency, we'll turn off the heat and work on our next step, which are the shells. Okay, so here we have our shells, and they came out of our package. We're just going to lay them out on a pan so that we can put them in the oven and heat them up. We want to make sure that we do not leave them in the oven for too long, because if we do, they will burn very quickly. If we don't heat them up, they taste a little stale. The cooking of them makes them a little crisper and a little more fresh. So once I've preheated my oven and it's ready to go, I'm going to put these in for just a few minutes. Okay, what we're going to do now is chop up our lettuce. And at our house, we know that the brighter green, the darker green that the leafy vegetable is, the more nutrients that are in it. So we use spinach with our tacos rather than using lettuce. The iceberg lettuce is mostly water and fiber and has no nutrients in it. So we're getting tons of nutrients. Calcium, vitamin A, all of those can be found in the spinach. I'm using a French chef's knife to chop it, and I'm making sure my fingers are curled under so that I do not get my fingers. And I'm just chopping it up so that it's nice and small, and I'm able to put it right onto my tacos. The nice thing about using the baby spinach from the bag, it's already washed, so that saves me a little bit of prep time. I don't have to wash them and lay them out to dry, so that I'm able to serve them. I'm just going to take this and fluff it a little bit and do right across it so that we get it chopped up even smaller for our tacos. Okay, and now my spinach is ready. I also happen to have some tomatoes. And not everybody in our house loves tomatoes, but I like tomatoes. So I'm just going to chop up a few tomatoes. And I want to make sure that they're clean. So I need to rinse them. Remember, with all fresh produce, we want to make sure that we've washed it before we use it. And I'll dry my tomatoes off. And now they're ready to be chopped. A serrated knife works much better on tomatoes than using any other type of knife because we don't want to have to push down hard. So I'm just going to kind of saw through the tomatoes and put them in little nice wedges for my salad. The next thing I can add are avocados. And I want to pick an avocado that's got a little bit of give to it, that's kind of soft, because the harder it is, it means it's not ripe. What I'm going to do is just take a knife and go around the avocado. And once I've done that, I can twist it apart. And then you can see the seed in it. I need to pop the seed out, so I'll just take the knife and kind of put it in there and just kind of put some pressure on it until that seed pops out. In this case, I'm just going to let it sit on the counter for now. And to cut the avocado, there are a couple ways to do this. The easiest way is just to put a little light pressure on it, not to go through the skin. You just want it to go through the edges of it. And then I can go back across and take a spoon and scrape that out. And then I'll have some nice avocado chunks to put right on my tacos. So there are those right by the spinach. So now I can get all my vegetables and fruits, because technically an avocado and a tomato are a fruit since they have a seed, all together. I also have out my shredded cheese that I'll be using, and I have my Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt, as long as it's plain, it can't have any flavor in it, is a great substitute for sour cream. The Greek yogurt has lots of protein and very few calories compared to the sour cream. So this will be a nice, healthy addition to our tacos. Next, we'll take a look at our shells and our meat. Alright, here are our shells, and our shells are all done. They've baked, and I'm going to set them on the counter, but I'm going to make sure I have hot pads out to set them on so that I don't burn my countertop. And then here we have our ground beef. And our ground beef, all the liquid has dried up now, and our beef is ready to put into our taco shells. Alright, so now I'm ready to assemble my tacos. So I got my taco shell and my beef, and I'm going to put a little bit on here to begin with. Then I'm going to head over and get some of my other goodies that I have. I have my cheese that I'm going to sprinkle on. And I happen to like my Greek yogurt or sour cream on next. I've got my spinach, my avocado, my tomato, and this gets kind of messy, so I'm going to wipe my hands off real quick here. And we happen to have lots of Taco Bell sauce because we go to Taco Bell, and rather than throw it away when they put it in our bag at the drive-thru, much better to save it and add it right to our tacos at home. Now we're all set to eat our yummy tacos. One more note, if you decide to do a soft taco, you can do that by wrapping a paper towel around your tortillas and putting them in the microwave to heat them up. Make sure your paper towel is slightly damp before you put it in the microwave. And you will have yummy soft tacos or yummy crunchy tacos. Enjoy your cooking lab.